In the middle, one must avoid the unskillful or the unwise approach to carrying out, continuing the practice of meditation. The unwise or unskillful approach to carrying out the practice or continuing it would be when in the practice of the meditation, in the course of the practice of the meditation, when there is state of mind free of thought taking place, and sometimes having this notion that this is the way the meditation practice should be going. It's a good experience that one should try to maintain this experience free of thoughts or distraction. And when there is thoughts or distractions arising, occurring, and some point having thought that this is the meditation practice is not going well, that some measures need to be taken to avoid it. And so, such would be unskillful approach to the continuing carrying out of the practice. Avoiding that, and one should apply the skillful or the wise approach in carrying out the practice of meditation. The skillful approach is, if there is that space of non-thought taking place, simply resting in the awareness of that, and if out of that space of non-thought, thought occurs, whatever kinds of thought occurs, noticing, mindfulness, the element of mindfulness of noticing, and then simply resting in the awareness of whatever occurs. Neither indulging in the expectation of something better, nor not doubting something undesirable taking place, simply resting, continuing to rest in the awareness of whatever occurs is skillful approach to carrying out the practice of meditation. One should avoid the unskillful approach to ending the session of practice, and in its place one should apply the skillful approach to ending the session of practice. If, when in the session of practice of meditation, one has experience of meditation, free of thoughts of distraction, a calm, abiding experience is occurring, and one has this notion, the practice of meditation is going well, one is enjoying the practice, and therefore one should continue it further. Or having this notion that because certain amount of thoughts or distractions are occurring, and therefore one needs to put more effort so that the mind begins to settle more from these thoughts. And as one puts more effort and trying to further continue the practice, because of the effort involved, the agitations increase. So therefore, abrupting the session or ending the session on a sort of unpleasant note And to do this is unskillful, therefore one should avoid the unskillful approach to ending the session of the practice. The skillful approach to ending the session of the practice is whether one is remaining in the awareness of thought arising or the space without thought. Basically, when the good quality of meditation is happening, at that time on a good note, end the session of practice. And to do, it's better to do many short sessions, repeated short sessions of good quality practice than to drag along one without quality. So in this way, we should avoid the unskillful approach to ending the session of practice and apply the skillful approach to ending it. Unskillful approaches in the beginning, middle and end, and understand the three skillful approaches. This could have tremendously helpful, beneficial effect in the development of one's meditation practice.
If one can avoid the three unskillful approaches at the beginning.
For instance, in the beginning of the practice, if one has avoided the unskillful approach to beginning and understands the skillful approach, then one knows that one does not have to wait for a calmer state of mind to take place before one could meditate. So a calmer atmosphere. Whether there is a thought occurring or not, whether calmer state of mind is happening or not, whenever one remembers or thinks of meditation, one could simply begin, because there is no need for preparation or for something else to take place before you could start. So that one could practically begin it at any time one thinks of it. So in this way it's beneficial. Then in the middle, when there is the unskillful approach involved, the expectations for a calm and clear state of mind, and the concern or the hesitation that conflicting thoughts will arise, and this brings about constriction, claustrophobia in the practice, in carrying out of the practice. In the absence of such expectations and hesitation, that there is a sense of freedom and openness, and therefore more spontaneously carry out the practice of the meditation. Then the issue of unskillful approach and skillful approach in ending this session of practice. When one falls into the unskillful approach and ends the session of practice on a more difficult note, then the next time when one wants to do the practice of meditation again, that remembering how difficult it was, that one has already certain resistance in carrying out the practice of meditation. On the other hand, if one ends the session of practice when the practice is going well, on a good or pleasant note, then again, when one wants to repeat another session of practice, at whatever time, that one would be more enthused, and there would be a joyful sense of participation in doing the practice again. So given these important points, that one avoids the unskillful approaches and understands and applies the skillful approaches is important. Now, in carrying out the Shine practice of meditation, one method is, which we will work with now, is you will, in front of yourselves, about 2 meters distance from you, in front of yourself, you will visualize an image of the Buddha, about 2 inches tall, and brilliant and marked with all the auspicious marks of the Buddha, and use that as the object of the awareness of the mind, and avoiding any kind of analysis or examination of the statue from any point of view, simply as an object, support, or maintaining awareness of mind. In the Shine practice of meditation, there is Shine with support, and Shine practice without support, without any reference point. And so this particular practice is Shine with support, with the support of the object. Generally, in beginning the Shine practice, one is not able to immediately rest in the undistracted natural awareness of the mind. So with the support, one tries to maintain the awareness of the mind. People in the first year have, you may please ask your questions. In order for the mind to be free of thought, there is need for the presence of awareness or mindfulness, and the mindfulness in itself seems to be a thought, is the question. And Rinpoche's response is, it may be so, but presently we need the awareness or the mindfulness as an antidote to the thoughts, in that we do not get distracted by following the thoughts. Is given that mindfulness or awareness is given the possibility of the awareness and mindfulness being a thought, then there is the two thoughts. Then it means that two thoughts are occurring at the same time: the thought of distraction and the thought of mindfulness or awareness. And Rinpoche's response is actually the thought and the mindfulness do not take place at the same time, simultaneously, even though there may be, towards because of the immediateness of these, there may be appearance that they might be taking place together, but how subtle may be the time difference, but thought occurs first, and then the interception of mindfulness or awareness takes place immediately, and that is if awareness takes place. And so they don't take place at the same time. And also it might be a point of clarification that the awareness, mindfulness is not actually a thought per se, from the point of view thought of conflicting emotions, like thoughts that we generally, concept of thought that we think of generally, but it is an aspect, appearance of the aspect of the wisdom nature of the mind.
In the middle instruction, the instructions are given to be aware of thought happening and rest in that. Be aware of non-thought happening and rest in that. And, when the first one is a little bit easier to understand. You're aware of the thought, and then that awareness sort of makes the thought disappear, and there's a resting that happens. But to be aware of the non-thought of that gap seems, in my experience, to take away that gap, to take away the resting, because you're constantly aware of the resting almost. So I don't really, because of that, I don't really understand that instruction to be aware of the non-thought of the gap that happens.
Possible for individual practitioners to have various different kinds of outlooks or experiences, so it's possible for any variety of experiences to take place. But when thought arises, thought occurs, and one is able to notice thought and remain in the awareness of the thought, and thus in this way thought automatically disappearing. If that is easy to do, and then resting in the awareness of non-thought should be even easier. In that one doesn't have to particularly trying to do away with anything, and the nature of thought being essentially non-thought. Therefore, to rest in the awareness of non-thought would be easier than to rest in the awareness of thought. So, gradually, that as one carries on one's practice, there is the possibility one begins to sort of link or join, so that there would be not such a big difference between the two. Of body and mind, and that when maintaining the postures of the body, then there is much physical pain, and one is not able to maintain those postures for more than 5 minutes or so. And Rinpoche's response is, anyone who has realized the essential nature of mind, then to them the body is also an outlook or expression of the mind. That way there is no separation the body is simply an expression of the mind too. But having not realized such, in our cases, then the body is the support to the mind, in the sense that the mind is the mind has the body as a nesting support. So there is this relationship, and when in listening practice, so when there is the pain felt, then the pain is felt by, the difficulties of pain is felt by the body, and then it is then picked up or experienced by the mind. And so that there is that relationship. In the practice of meditation, as Richard mentioned earlier, is one should therefore do short sessions of practice as opposed to dragging it long, and also any time that there is some very serious discomfort, to end it and to go out of the posture, and then after a while to restart, to start again. And even if one is not able to maintain the more difficult postures like the feet, the most important of all the posture is maintaining the uprightness of the back, and plus that the body being somewhat relaxed and not tightened or rigid. And that's most important.
Meditate with open eyes. In the meditation that has been described this morning that we practiced, the rib support, does he also advise us to keep eyes open or eyes closed for visualization?
The same, just keep the natural gaze of one's eye, naturally keeping it open. But if one is not able to get a focused visualization with one's eyes open, then to keep it closed. It would be better to keep one's eyes open.
Donc la question portait sur le ouvert ou fermé ou en général.
So the instruction that you have been giving is first the Shini instruction with support of the breath, and the Shini instruction without support, the Kamangi Sheba ordinary mind, and now the Shini method with support of Shini practice with support of the Buddha. So please, Rinpoche would like to encourage all of you to do your practice as efficiently and as diligently as you can. We have only a few more days left of the program, and it is important that you take your practice very sincerely and do it diligently, because in the absence of actual practice, then one would be left only with some intellectual understanding of what is being talked about. But when you are actually engaging in the practice, then there will be some experience taking place, and when in the coming days the different aspects of the Shini instructions are provided to you, that with the basis of experience, that the instructions can be received more meaningfully, or there will be a basis for receiving the instructions more meaningfully. So in this way, please be diligent with your practices, and for the next session, the people who are here for the third year will come for the next session.
Amen.